Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet morning in Fayetteville, North Carolina, when a 911 call broke the silence. A mother said her little girl was unresponsive, claiming she'd been sick for days. When paramedics arrived, they found 2-year-old Macy Grace barely alive, her tiny body covered in bruises that didn't make sense. As doctors tried to save her, questions started piling up. The mother's story didn't add up, and details about what happened that morning didn't seem right. What really happened to Macy? How could such a happy, innocent child end up like this? The truth would uncover a heartbreaking story that left a family and a community searching for answers. Macy Grace entered the world on December 14, 2012, bringing joy to her parents, Jeannie and Kevin. Born with a condition called ankylosing, often referred to as being tongue-tied, Macy faced a small hurdle early on. This condition, which restricted her tongue's movement due to a tight band of tissue, was resolved with a simple surgical procedure during her infancy. From the start, Macy stood out with her curly brown hair, bright brown eyes, and an infectious smile. She was a lively and happy baby, often found chasing butterflies or playing with her favorite dolls. Her great-aunt Shelley Smith affectionately dubbed her Mixie Trixie Fairy Pixie, a nickname reflecting Macy's sweet and curious personality. Macy adored the movie Frozen, loved splashing in the pool, and had a special bond with Shelley's dog Bourbon. Videos of her childhood captured moments of love and laughter, Macy giving an animated lecture to her uncle in baby talk, stealing and returning her dad's ball cap, and gleefully riding a Ferris wheel for the first time. One bedtime video showed her blowing kisses to the camera, saying, "Night, night," with her signature radiant smile. Jeannie, Macy's mother, had a turbulent past. Described as a challenging child, Jeannie's early years were marked by instability and family conflict. She often sought attention, sometimes using manipulation to get her way. After her parents divorced, Jeannie chose to live with her father, a decision that reportedly stemmed from fueling arguments to push her mother to send her away. Her teenage years saw her attending multiple high schools in Pennsylvania before graduating from Stroudsburg High in 2011. Seeking a fresh start, Jeannie joined the military, but old habits persisted. During basic training in Missouri, her actions, such as falling asleep on fire watch, caused trouble for her entire unit. In 2012, Jeannie married Kevin, and the couple relocated to Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Later that year, Macy was born at Womack Medical Center while Kevin was deployed overseas. Despite his absence during Macy's birth, Kevin returned home shortly after to meet his newborn daughter. Jeannie's Aunt Shelley became a significant part of their lives, visiting North Carolina to assist with the baby and staying in touch through daily FaceTime calls. As Macy grew, Jeannie juggled various jobs, working at a gym, a car dealership, and an oral surgeon's office. During this time, Kevin was deployed again, this time to the UAE. Their separation strained the marriage, leading to rumors of infidelity and an eventual divorce. Jeannie frequently shared videos of Macy online, showcasing the toddler's playful and spirited nature. However, some posts raised eyebrows. In one video, Macy threw a tantrum, with the caption stating, "Macy doesn't like to share her mommy." In another, Macy, dressed in a pink onesie, stood on a nightstand, grinning at the camera as Jeannie playfully scolded her off-screen. While these moments appeared harmless, the tone of Jeannie's comments and her casual approach to potential risks concerned some family members. In 2014, Jeannie delved into competitive bodybuilding, placing 11th in a North Carolina competition's bikini division. During this time, she left Macy with Aunt Shelley for a month, claiming to be busy with personal matters. Jeannie's manipulative tendencies resurfaced as she withheld Macy's location from Kevin, preventing him from speaking to his daughter on her second birthday. While Shelley and other family members cherished their time with Macy, they worried about Jeannie's erratic behavior and prolonged absences. When concerns arose, Jeannie often deflected or distanced herself from her family. The family always found Jeannie's parenting style unsettling. Her willingness to leave Macy with different babysitters for weeks or months at a time, and her casual attitude about the child's absence raised concerns. Relatives, including her Nana and father's family, worried about Macy's well-being, but they cherished the moments they had with her. Whenever questions arose about bruises or Macy's lack of communication, Jeannie dismissed them with excuses, saying Macy was sick, tired, or staying with a friend. Any marks were explained away as part of Macy's growth and development. Trusting Jeannie as family, they didn't suspect she could harm her own daughter. Some of Macy's babysitters, however, voiced concerns online. One claimed Macy was often neglected, appearing dirty and unkempt because Jeannie didn't bathe her or care for her properly. Another recalled Macy being dropped off at a gym daycare, where she'd stay all day and into the evening, allowing Jeannie to avoid watching her. A daycare worker at the gym even reported Jeannie to CPS, but no action was taken. Friends who raised these concerns with Jeannie were met with lies or outright dismissal. Instead of addressing her behavior, Jeannie would cut people out of Macy's life and move on to a new babysitter. On March 3, 2015, Jeannie posted a troubling photo of Macy online. In the picture, Macy sat crying on the apartment floor. The caption read, "When your child covers your house with toothpaste while you're in the shower and then gives attitude and tells you no." Below the post, Jeannie wrote, "She's going to know what a sort feels like by the end of the day. I'm about to break out the wooden spoon." By this time, Jeannie and Kevin were separated, and Jeannie frequently referred to herself as a single mother. Kevin was still stationed in Dubai, while Jeannie began dating Zachary Kiefer, a 31-year-old paramedic and former Special Forces soldier, despite Zach still being married. In April 2015, Jeannie re-enlisted in the Army. She and Macy lived in the Stone Ridge Apartments in Fayetteville, just minutes from the base. On November 30th, Jeannie texted Zach multiple times about Macy being unwell, describing her diarrhea and accidents in exasperated tones. At one point, Jeannie admitted to hitting Macy, saying, "I lit Macy up." Later, she texted about forcing Macy into a cold bath, scaring her so badly that the toddler hid in a closet. Jeannie chillingly texted Zach, "I'll give her a reason to be scared, the little bitch." The next morning, December 1st, Jeannie took Macy to Womack Army Medical Center. A pediatrician examined Macy, who appeared sleepy but showed no visible injuries. He diagnosed her with gastroenteritis and colitis, likely caused by a stomach bug. That evening, Jeannie texted Zach, complaining about Macy's sickness and messiness, saying she gave the child a large dose of melatonin and made her stand in the corner until she fell asleep. Later, she would tell officials that Macy slept through the night and woke briefly the next morning. On December 2nd, Jeannie's account of what happened to Macy became a web of inconsistencies. She called Zach, claiming Macy was sick and asking him to check on her. When Zach arrived, he reportedly heard Macy making strange noises and found her vomiting through her nose, her limbs flailing as if oxygen deprived. Zach tried to clear her airway and told Jeannie to call 911. Jeannie's demeanor during the 911 call was unsettlingly calm. She described Macy's breathing as faint and claimed the child had been vomiting in her sleep. Despite the dispatcher's insistence, Jeannie hesitated to provide necessary details and claimed to be outside the apartment for better reception. First responders arrived to find Macy unresponsive and cold to the touch, with a body temperature of 92 degrees. At the ER, as her body warmed, bruises began to surface. Macy had injuries on her neck, marks resembling a handprint and fingernail scratches, and patches of missing hair. She was transferred to UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill, where doctors confirmed severe brain injuries. Tragically, Macy's condition was beyond recovery. As authorities investigated, they discovered glaring discrepancies in Jeannie and Zach's stories. Macy, who had supposedly been sick in pajamas, arrived at the hospital in a new dress with price tags still attached. Her braided hair suggested she'd been groomed after falling unresponsive. The injuries to her neck and head could not be explained by any version of events Jeannie provided. When Jeannie's Aunt Shelley arrived at the hospital, she was met by CPS and police. Shelley later described her shock upon seeing Macy in her hospital bed. Shelley confronted Jeannie, asking what had happened to Macy. Jeannie stared silently out the window, refusing to answer or even look at her. Jeannie insisted Macy had been sick and suggested that the paramedics and doctors caused the injuries. Shelley, disbelieving, accused her directly. "You did this. You did this to her." Jeannie responded with anger, telling her to leave. Kevin, who was deployed overseas, was rushed home by the Red Cross. He arrived just in time to sit with Macy, hold her, and give her one final bath before life support was removed. On December 4, 2015, Macy passed away. What followed only added to the heartbreak. Jeannie and Zach set up a GoFundMe campaign allegedly for funeral expenses, but Kevin's military benefits already covered these costs. After family and friends reported the fundraiser as fraudulent, Zach took it down. The $6,000 collected before its removal was never accounted for. Jeannie even tried to exclude Shelley and Kevin from Macy's funeral, a move that failed. During the planning, Jeannie insisted on dressing Macy in a sleeveless black dress and a sparkly headband. The funeral director refused, ensuring the bruises on Macy's arms would not be visible. On the day of the funeral, Jeannie arrived over an hour late, having prioritized getting her hair done. Despite these distractions, the family honored Macy with a touching service at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Chapel in Fort Bragg on December 21, 2015. Macy was laid to rest 2 days later at Sand Hill State Veterans Cemetery in Spring Lake, North Carolina. As investigations into Macy's death unfolded, shocking details emerged. Police questioned Jeannie, Zach, Kevin, and even Zach's estranged wife, Lisa. Lisa later alleged that Zach had held her hostage for hours, physically assaulting her and threatening her with a gun. He was arrested on multiple charges, including first-degree kidnapping, but was released on $17,000 bail. Shortly after, he left the military and moved in with Jeannie at the same apartment complex where Macy had lived, albeit in a different unit. In the months that followed, Jeannie sold Macy's belongings on Facebook Marketplace, saying she couldn't bear to see them anymore. In January 2016, She hired a photographer for a bizarre photo shoot. The photographer specialized in photoshopping images of deceased loved ones into new pictures. Jeannie told him that Macy had choked on a banana and died, requesting a photo shoot at the cemetery where she could be reunited with her daughter. The resulting images featured a ghostly Macy alongside her mother. The photos, intended to evoke sympathy, backfired. Public outrage grew as details of Jeannie's suspected involvement in Macy's death emerged. On March 23, 2016, the medical examiner ruled Macy's death a homicide. The next day, Jeannie and Zach were arrested, charged with first-degree murder and negligent child abuse. Both were held without bond. As the case progressed, Jeannie altered her story, claiming Zach was responsible for Macy's injuries. She fabricated a timeline in which she left Macy in Zach's care during an alleged doctor's appointment, only to return and find her injured. Records showed she signed in at the medical office but never attended an appointment. Jeannie also claimed Macy had fallen in the bathtub days earlier. Investigators found her stories inconsistent, riddled with contradictions. The evidence pointed to a more sinister truth, one that would ultimately define the legacy of a life cut tragically short. Jeannie's account of events on the morning of Macy's death was riddled with contradictions. Initially, she claimed to have fed Macy a banana that morning. Later, she changed her story, saying Zach had given Macy the banana while she was allegedly at a doctor's appointment. Both versions of the story were repeated to friends and family, adding confusion. In her attempt to explain Macy's condition, Jeannie offered a variety of excuses, ranging from a collapsed lung to a blood disorder, similar to one her aunt, related only by marriage, had suffered. She also claimed to be afraid of Zach, alleging he had committed domestic violence against her, though recent bikini competition photos showed no signs of injury. As part of the investigation, police administered polygraph tests to both Jeannie and Zach. While Zach passed his test, Jeannie failed hers. Zach maintained a consistent story, stating he arrived at the apartment to help Macy and tried his best to save her life. However, the domestic violence charges from his ex-wife, Lisa, cast doubt on his credibility. Lisa alleged injuries to her head and neck, similar to those Macy had suffered, though medical records showed no evidence of skull fractures or internal bleeding. In early 2019, Zach was acquitted of the charges against Lisa, with speculation that her accusations may have been fueled by resentment over his relationship with Jeannie. In November 2019, the district attorney announced new medical evidence. The findings revealed that Macy's injuries occurred 12 to 24 hours before the 911 call, long before Zach arrived at the apartment. With this revelation, all charges against Zach were dropped. Macy's family largely supported this decision, believing Zach was innocent and had been manipulated by Jeannie. After spending 44 months in jail, Zach was released and expressed a desire to focus on his daughter with Lisa. However, social media updates suggested he was no longer part of her life. Jeannie's trial began on March 9, 2020. Her defense argued that Zach was responsible for Macy's injuries and that Jeannie lied out of fear of him. The prosecution countered that Jeannie was solely responsible for Macy's death. Witnesses described Jeannie's unsettling behavior while Macy was hospitalized. A nurse testified that Jeannie showed little emotion, a stark contrast to most parents in similar situations. Another nurse practitioner recalled Jeannie appearing happy during a discussion about removing Macy from life support. When told her daughter wouldn't survive, Jeannie reportedly responded, "Well, I guess that makes me a bad fucking mother." The medical examiner's testimony painted a grim picture of Macy's final hours. She had suffered at least 30 blows to the head, causing scalp hemorrhages, cerebral edema, and bleeding in her brain. Macy also had extensive injuries to her body, including bruises consistent with being struck by an electrical cord, healing liver lacerations, and cuts inside her mouth. A clump of her hair was found in the bathtub drain, suggesting it had been forcibly removed. While blunt force trauma was listed as the official cause of death, the examiner noted that smothering or drowning could not be ruled out. During the trial, Jeannie's lack of emotional response was stark. She sat unmoved during graphic testimony about Macy's injuries, but broke into tears when Zach dismissed their relationship, referring to her as just a piece of it. The jury deliberated but failed to reach a unanimous verdict. 10 jurors voted to convict Jeannie, but 2 dissented. They believed in physical discipline for children and couldn't reconcile how Jeannie's hands could be deemed deadly weapons. The judge declared a mistrial. After the mistrial, the case underwent significant changes. Though Jeannie remained in jail on a $300,000 bond, her time behind bars seemed uncertain as her legal saga continued. In April 2021, Jeannie was offered a plea deal for second-degree murder, but she rejected it, stating she would only plead guilty to lesser charges like felony child abuse, interfering with a police investigation, and accessory. When asked what she meant by accessory, Jeannie refused to clarify and insisted she would rather face trial. Her next trial was scheduled for November 2021. However, days before it began, Jeannie's attorney filed a motion requesting that the court reinstate the original 2018 plea deal, which would allow her to be released with time served. The judge appeared sympathetic to Jeannie, believing she was more of a victim, and approved the motion. While district attorney appealed the decision to a higher court, the judge lowered Jeannie's bond and released her on an unsecured $25,000 signature bond just before Thanksgiving. In an interview, Macy's grandmother, Tina Goodwin, stated, "We will fight for our last breath until this baby gets the justice she deserves." Both Tina and Aunt Shelley remain deeply concerned that Jeannie could harm someone else if left unchecked. Their concerns seem justified. After Macy's funeral, Jeannie continued to cause turmoil. Macy was buried in a military cemetery, and typically, both parents' names and ranks are listed on the headstone. However, Jeannie convinced officials that she needed protection from Kevin, claiming he didn't care enough to attend the meeting to choose Macy's headstone. In truth, Kevin was advised to stay away from Jeannie for legal reasons. As a result, Jeannie ensured only her name appeared on Macy's headstone. By the end of 2022, Kevin and Jeannie finalized their divorce. Soon after, Jeannie adopted a new identity, going by Jenna, and began dating again. Her online dating profile stated, "I've been through hell. I have a past, but I have a present and a future. I'm upfront and honest, and I don't want someone who's not understanding. Let's do life together." In addition to changing her name, Jeannie altered her appearance with cosmetic tattoos, lip injections, and other procedures. In November 2023, she gave birth to another baby girl. Despite never being found guilty of a crime, Jeannie retains custody of the child. Since Macy's death, Aunt Shelley has been an unwavering advocate for justice. She runs the Justice for Macy Facebook group, marking every birthday and holiday without her beloved Mixie Trixie Fairy Pixie. She even got a tattoo in honor of Macy. Shelley believes Macy sends her small signs of love, like when loose change mysteriously appears or songs like Girl Crush by Little Big Town play on the radio. Shelley often posts tributes to Macy online. One message read, "It's been a long time. Everyone moves on, but for those who truly loved you, we're still holding on. We talk about you daily. We think of you 1,000 times a day. We celebrate your life and mourn your death. If wishes were hugs, you'd be covered in them. If wishes were enough, you'd still be here." There's never a day your name isn't spoken. Never a day you aren't missed. Missing you now more than ever. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations. Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. When police and paramedics arrived that March evening, the house was strangely quiet. The 911 call had been frantic, a voice begging for help, saying someone was in the basement. Inside, a faint smell of paint filled the air, and the door to the basement was slightly open, almost inviting them to look closer. As officers made their way downstairs, they stumbled onto a heartbreaking scene. Cara Rintala was sitting on the floor holding the lifeless body of her wife, Anna Marie Cochran. Both were covered in blood and streaks of paint. Cara was sobbing uncontrollably, muttering words no one could quite make out. Around them, spilled paint pooled on the floor, creating a chaotic and confusing picture. At first, it seemed like a terrible accident. Maybe Anna had fallen down the stairs. But as investigators started to examine the scene, strange details began to stand out. Bloodstains in odd places, signs that things had been moved, and gaps in the story of what happened that day. Was this truly a tragic accident, or was there something much darker behind it? Cara Rintala was born in 1965 in Massachusetts, United States. While little is known about her early life and family, she grew up in the small town of Granby, located in Hampshire County, near the city of Springfield. There, she pursued her education and became certified as an emergency medical technician, a career that allowed her to combine her passion for helping others with a desire to make a positive impact on people's lives. Cara later joined the local fire department, dedicating herself to serving her community. From a young age, Cara was known for her reserved nature. She kept her thoughts and emotions to herself, which often left her feeling isolated and made it difficult for her to form close relationships. However, everything changed in 2002 when she met Anna Marie Cochran, a 30-year-old paramedic whose vibrant energy brought light into Cara's life. Anna Marie Cochran, born on July 30, 1972 in Springfield, had a lively and adventurous spirit. Little is known about her childhood, except that she was the daughter of William and Lucy and had a brother named Charles. From a young age, Anna was recognized for her zest for life and her motto to live each day to the fullest. At 16, she revealed her sexual orientation to her family after a dramatic incident where she disappeared for a night and was later found at a motel with another girl. Though it was initially a shock, her parents eventually accepted her for who she was. As a paramedic, Anna found a profession where her dedication and lively personality could shine. It was in this environment that she crossed paths with Cara, who was 7 years older. Despite their differences, Kara being introverted and Anna outgoing, the two formed an instant connection that quickly developed into a romantic relationship. Their bond deepened, and in 2005, they married in Massachusetts, becoming one of the first same-sex couples to legally marry in the state. Their love and shared dreams led them to adopt a week-old baby girl in 2007, whom they named Brianna, solidifying their growing family. However, their relationship faced challenges. Over time, financial troubles began to strain their bond. Anna's impulsive spending led to mounting credit card debts, totaling $20,000. The situation escalated when Anna allegedly committed fraud by opening a credit card in Kara's name, sparking intense arguments and moments of domestic conflict. In September 2008, Anna filed a restraining order against Kara, claiming she had been physically abused. Kara was arrested for domestic assault but denied the allegations. Although Anna eventually dropped the charges, their relationship remained fractured and tensions continued to rise. By May 2009, the strain between them reached new heights. On May 12th, an emergency call from their home alarmed authorities, but both women insisted it was a mistake, blaming Brianna for dialing by accident. Later that day, Kara filed for divorce, signaling the growing divide between them. Over the next few weeks, tensions escalated further, with Kara alleging threats against her and both women seeking mutual restraining orders. A judge, observing the instability in their relationship, warned that Brianna could be removed from their custody if things did not improve. In June 2009, Anna began seeing a former partner, Carla, a police officer, and temporarily moved in with her. However, after accumulating $10,000 in debt on Carla's credit cards, their relationship soured, and Anna returned to Kara's home. Despite their financial struggles, Kara and Anna attempted to rekindle their relationship by going on a Caribbean cruise. The trip, however, provided only a brief reprieve from their mounting problems. By 2010, their marriage was on the brink of collapse. Both women had started interacting with others outside their relationship, fueling jealousy and mistrust. Kara had a close friendship with a man named Mike, which sparked Anna's suspicion, while Anna formed a connection with a married co-worker, Mark. Anna's charm and manipulative tendencies allowed her to persuade Mark to provide her with several credit cards, on which she accrued $7,000 in debt. By late March 2010, their relationship had deteriorated beyond repair. On the night of March 28th, an argument erupted after Anna discovered that Kara had invited a male friend over while Anna was on duty. Heated text exchanges followed, with Anna threatening to leave Kara. The following evening, on March 29th, tragedy struck. Shortly after 7 p.m., Kara, holding her daughter Brianna, arrived at a neighbor's house in distress. She handed Brianna to the neighbor and urgently requested that they call emergency services, stating that Anna was lying in the basement. Kara then rushed back to her home, leaving behind a community that would soon be shaken by the unfolding events. Police and paramedics arrived at the Rintala residence within 3 minutes of the 911 call. Upon entering the home, an officer heard Kara's frantic cries and noticed that the basement door was slightly ajar. Descending the stairs, he encountered a scene of utter horror. Kara sat on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, cradling the lifeless body of 37-year-old Anna in her arms. Both women were covered in blood and streaked with white paint. Amid the chaos, Kara was questioned at the scene. She explained to investigators that she had been out running errands with her daughter Brianna to give Anna some time to rest. According to Kara, Anna had come home around 8:30 a.m. after finishing her night shift. Despite a recent argument between them, they managed to have a peaceful family breakfast before Anna asked Kara to take Brianna out so she could sleep before her next shift. Kara claimed she left the house with her daughter around 3 p.m., making several stops in nearby towns and arriving at a shopping mall just before 5 p.m. While at the mall, Kara said she sent several text messages to Anna but received no replies, which began to worry her. After about half an hour, Kara left the mall and stopped at a fast food restaurant to buy a meal for Brianna. Still unable to reach Anna by phone, Kara grew increasingly distressed and rushed home around 7 p.m., only to be met with a nightmare. She described entering the house, finding Anna's body in the basement, and panicking. After taking Brianna to a neighbor's house for safety, she returned to the basement to hold Anna in her arms until emergency responders arrived. When asked what she thought had happened, Kara suggested that Anna might have fallen down the stairs. Initially, the scene seemed to support this theory. Anna was found near an overturned paint can, and some areas of spilled paint had already dried, while others remained wet. However, further examination revealed inconsistencies that hinted at something far more sinister. Forensic investigators noted that rigor mortis had already set in, suggesting Anna had been dead for several hours. Blood was found in multiple areas of the basement, even beneath a laundry basket, indicating the scene might have been staged. The paint, which had partially dried in some spots, appeared to have been deliberately poured over Anna's body at different times. These details began to raise serious doubts about the initial assumption of an accidental fall. The autopsy results, released a few days later, confirmed the worst. Anna's cause of death was strangulation. The medical examiner determined that someone had applied sustained pressure to Anna's neck for approximately 4 minutes, causing her death. Additionally, Anna had 23 recent bruises and multiple blunt force injuries to her head, indicating she had endured a violent attack. The time of death was estimated to be between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., placing Kara at home during the crime, despite her claim that she had left the house with Brianna in the afternoon. With the death now classified as a homicide, suspicion quickly fell on Kara. During her initial statements to police, Kara described Anna as loud, lazy, and manipulative, and hinted at her wife's volatile temper. However, before detectives could conduct further questioning, Kara retained a lawyer. Investigators began piecing together a picture of the couple's troubled relationship, uncovering a history of domestic violence, financial disputes, and mutual resentment. The investigation also revealed a more complicated side to Anna's life. Police discovered that Anna had been romantically involved with a married co-worker, Mark. On the morning of her death, Anna had sent Mark a text asking him to take her to buy a new phone. Mark admitted to receiving her message and acknowledged that Anna had accumulated significant debt on his credit cards. However, he claimed to have been out of town visiting his ill sister on the day of the murder, providing receipts to corroborate his alibi. Without evidence tying Mark to the crime, investigators turned their focus back to Kara. The timeline of events became a critical part of the case. Kara maintained that she left the house in the afternoon and did not return until 7 p.m., but security footage from local businesses failed to place her in public during that time. The paint covering Anna's body also raised questions. It was a specialized sealing paint that turned from pink to white within an hour of application. When officers arrived, the paint was still pink, indicating it had been poured over Anna's body shortly before the 911 call. This, combined with evidence of an attempt to clean the basement, blood splatter beneath shelves and on concrete surfaces, pointed to a deliberate effort to manipulate the crime scene. The arrangement of the scene was particularly suspicious. If an intruder had killed Anna, Why would they move a laundry basket and pour paint over her body? Adding to the intrigue, investigators discovered semicircular marks on the frame of the house's side door, suggesting a staged break-in. Security footage from Kara's afternoon errands revealed a laundry basket and a red bag in the back of her SUV while she shopped at a mall. Strangely, both items were missing by the time she returned home. A thorough search led detectives to a dumpster where they found 3 rags, one of which was stained with what appeared to be blood. Despite mounting evidence against her, there were no eyewitnesses or surveillance footage directly linking Kara to the crime, which complicated the case. The investigation stretched over a year, during which Kara sold her house and moved with her daughter to her parents' home in Rhode Island. In October 2011, she was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, becoming the first woman in Massachusetts history to face such charges for the death of her wife. What followed was a decade-long legal battle that would test the resolve of all involved. After an 18-month investigation, the Northwestern District Attorney declared there was no doubt Kara was responsible for Anna's death. Prosecutors alleged that Kara had attacked Anna following a heated argument, pushed her down the basement stairs, and strangled her. They accused Kara of attempting to clean the crime scene and pouring paint over Anna's body to obscure evidence. To support their timeline, they argued that the murder occurred between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. on March 29, 2010, just before Kara claimed to have left the house. Kara's trial began on February 20, 2013, with prosecutors painting a grim picture of a marriage in turmoil. The couple was reportedly drowning in nearly $95,000 of debt from credit cards and car loans, fueling constant arguments. Explosive fights over custody, restraining orders, and allegations of domestic violence added to the tension. The prosecution claimed that on the morning of the murder, Kara killed Anna in a fit of rage and then spent the afternoon trying to cover her tracks. Prosecutors also argued that Kara's actions that day, leaving the house with her daughter and returning hours later, were an attempt to establish an alibi. The missing red bag and laundry basket, as well as the blood-stained rag found in the dumpster, were presented as evidence of her efforts to dispose of incriminating materials. Furthermore, damage to the side door suggested she had staged a break-in. Kara's defense team countered by challenging the timeline and questioning the reliability of the evidence. They presented a forensic expert who suggested that Anna's time of death was between 2:30 p.m. and 5:20 p.m., when Kara was allegedly out running errands. They also pointed to inconsistencies in the evidence, such as the degraded state of the blood-stained rag, which made it difficult to determine if the blood was human or Anna's. The defense further argued that the investigation was flawed, suggesting other potential suspects, including Anna's co-worker Mark. Mark, who had a questionable relationship with Anna, had lied about his whereabouts on the day of the murder and displayed obsessive behavior toward her. However, his alibi eventually held up under scrutiny, shifting focus back to Kara. Kara's first trial ended on March 13, 2013, in a mistrial, as the jury failed to reach a unanimous verdict. A second trial in February 2014 ended the same way. After 2 hung juries, a third trial commenced in October 2016 with some changes. This time, the prosecution allowed the jury to consider both first-degree murder and the lesser charge of manslaughter, arguing that while they believed the crime was premeditated, it might also have been a sudden, unplanned act. During this trial, a paint quality expert testified that the paint on Anna's body and the surrounding area was still fresh when first responders arrived, bolstering the prosecution's claim that Kara had used it to alter the crime scene. After hours of deliberation, the jury found Kara guilty of first-degree murder on October 7, 2016. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, bringing what seemed to be closure for Anna's family. However, on September 27, 2021, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court overturned the conviction, ruling that the paint expert's testimony was unreliable and should have been excluded. The court determined that the testimony had significantly influenced the jury's decision, warranting a new trial. Despite the overturned conviction, Kara was not absolved of the charges. She was released on $50,000 bail and moved back to her family's home in Rhode Island under strict conditions, including GPS monitoring and a court-imposed curfew. Despite the setback of her overturned conviction, the district attorney's office announced that Kara Rintala would face a fourth trial. Scheduled for September 2023, this trial offered the prosecution another chance to prove its case. However, lingering doubts about the interpretation of evidence and the defense's focus on alternative suspects, such as Anna's co-worker Mark, continued to complicate the narrative. The state's insistence on pursuing the case, even after so many years, reflected its unwavering commitment to justice, not just for the victim, but also to uphold the integrity of the legal system. On September 13, 2023, Kara, still maintaining her innocence, returned to court for the fourth time. The tension in the courtroom was palpable as the trial unfolded. Finally, on October 5, 2023, the jury delivered its verdict. Kara Rintala, now 58 years old, was found guilty of voluntary manslaughter. Tears and murmurs filled the room as the judge revoked her bail, marking her second conviction in a case that had dragged on for over a decade. Following the verdict, an emotional Kara was handcuffed and taken into custody. Meanwhile, Anna's family expressed a sense of relief, believing justice had finally been served. Yet, the echoes of controversy surrounding the case persisted. A week later, during the sentencing hearing, prosecutors argued for a sentence of 15 to 17 years, emphasizing the violent nature of the crime and Kara's deliberate attempts to manipulate the crime scene. They detailed how Anna had suffered a slow and agonizing death by strangulation, a process that took several minutes. While the jury had determined the act was committed in the heat of passion, the prosecution insisted that it was calculated, pointing to Kara's efforts to obscure her actions. Prosecutors also highlighted the profound harm caused by the crime, particularly to the couple's daughter, Brianna, who was only 3 years old when her mother was killed. The defense, on the other hand, argued that Kara had already spent significant time behind bars, 7 years in total, and urged the court to impose a fair and reasonable sentence. They pointed to Kara's career as an emergency medical technician, her lack of a prior criminal record, and over 40 character reference letters that attested to her role as a devoted mother. In a particularly moving moment, Brianna, now 16 years old, delivered a heartfelt statement to the court. Her words captivated everyone in attendance as she spoke about the pain of losing her mother and the difficulty of being separated from Kara, the only parent she remembered. Through tears, Brianna described how her connection with Kara, forged through letters, phone calls, and visits during her incarceration, had sustained her. She recounted how her mother's release in 2021, after the overturned conviction, had transformed her life. Brianna shared how Kara's presence had helped her excel in school, join sports teams, and find hope again. Pleading with the judge, Brianna expressed her deep love for Kara and begged for her release, stating, "I need my mom. Having her back is everything to me." After hearing the testimonies and reviewing the letters of support, the judge delivered the final sentence on October 19, 2023. Kara Rintala was sentenced to 12 to 14 years in prison for the strangulation of her wife. The sentence was reduced by the 7 years Kara had already served since her initial conviction in 2016. Kara Rintala is now serving the remainder of her sentence at the Massachusetts Correctional Institution for Women. Over the years, her case has drawn significant public attention and has been the subject of documentaries such as At the Bottom of the Stairs and Descending into the Basement. The case of Anna Mariko and Kara Rintala remains a haunting example of how personal relationships can unravel into fatal violence. It underscores the complexity of human emotions and the devastating consequences of unresolved conflict. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations. Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. On a chilly December night in 2016, the peace of a quiet Toronto neighborhood was shattered by the sound of a woman's screams. Screams that suddenly stopped as quickly as they began. Inside the house, 3 kids were asleep, completely unaware of the terrible events unfolding just a few rooms away. By the next morning, 40-year-old Dr. Elena Frick, a well-loved doctor and mother of 3, had disappeared. Her husband, Dr. Mohammed Shamji, claimed she had left the house with a suitcase and another man. But what seemed like a simple explanation was hiding something far darker. What really happened to Alana that night? And how did her perfect life take such a tragic turn? Alana Frick was born in 1977 in Windsor, Canada, to Joseph and Anna Frick. She had an older sister named Caroline. Her parents were originally from Croatia and had moved to Canada in the 1960s to work for General Motors. After Caroline's birth in 1970, the Fricks faced heartbreak, losing 2 pregnancies and being told by doctors they wouldn't be able to have more children. Against all odds, Ilana was born in 1977, and her parents saw her as nothing short of a miracle. When Elena was young, the family relocated from Windsor to Tecumseh, a small town in southwestern Ontario where she grew up. Known as a bright and curious child, Elena spent much of her free time immersed in books. She attended St. Peter's Elementary School and later Santa Ana High School. In high school, she participated in Croatian folk dance and spent her summers working in nearby cornfields. Elena was also athletic, joining her school's track and field team. During her school years, Elena met a boy named Mathieu Renaud, and the two quickly became inseparable. They shared everything, from meals with each other's families to a deep love for music. In the 1990s, they fulfilled a shared dream of attending a Nirvana concert, their favorite band. Their bond seemed unshakable, and friends and family believed they were destined to marry. However, life took a turn after high school when Ilana began studying medicine at the University of Ottawa, while Mathieu stayed in their hometown. The long-distance relationship proved challenging, and despite their engagement, Elena eventually ended it, focusing entirely on her studies. Elena's drive to succeed stemmed from witnessing her parents' grueling work at the General Motors factory. She often remarked on how exhausting their jobs were and resolved to secure a career that offered financial stability and a better quality of life. Her determination paid off, and she excelled during her time at medical school. In 2003, while working as a resident at the Ottawa Hospital, Ilana was playing pool in the recreation room when she caught the eye of Mohammed Shamji, a neurosurgery resident. Mohammed, the son of renowned thoracic surgeon Dr. Farid Shamji, came from a wealthy and prestigious family in Ottawa. He had attended the country's best schools and was considered a medical prodigy. Mohammed began joining Ilana for games of pool and eventually asked her out. Ilana was captivated by his intelligence, ambition, and elite background. Despite her growing feelings, she sometimes doubted whether she was good enough for him. Their relationship, however, was far from perfect. While Ilana was deeply invested, Mohammed's behavior often left her disappointed. He skipped her medical school graduation under the pretense of being ill, only for her to later discover he had been out with friends. He was also unfaithful, seeing another woman from his university days. Despite these red flags, Mohammed's charm and persistence convinced Elena to stay with him, even after she had tried ending the relationship twice. In April 2004, Elena introduced Mohammed to her parents. Joseph and Anna were unimpressed, finding him distant and disinterested in engaging with them. Joseph advised Ilana not to settle for someone like Mohammed, believing she deserved better. One morning, Anna overheard the couple arguing. When she asked what was wrong, Ilana, visibly upset, insisted it was nothing more than a sleepless night. Anna left them alone, assuming it was just a harmless disagreement. Not long after, Ilana discovered she was pregnant. Mohammed faced a dilemma, as his Muslim parents would be furious about an out-of-wedlock child and his choice to marry outside their faith. Weighing his options, Mohammed decided marriage was the best solution. Together, he and Ilana began planning two weddings, one to honor his family's traditions and another for hers. On September 1, 2004, Ilana and Mohammed held a traditional Muslim ceremony in Ottawa. At nearly 5 months pregnant, Ilana adhered to the customs, including having her hands adorned with intricate henna designs, which her Christian mother found unsettling. The wedding highlighted the stark contrast between the couple's backgrounds. Ilana's guests were primarily hard-working relatives, while Mohammed's were prominent figures in the medical community. Alcohol was officially forbidden at the ceremony, though some guests discreetly drank in the parking lot. While their union seemed like a compromise between their different worlds, the complexities of their relationship hinted at the challenges that lay ahead. Before their second wedding at a Catholic church, Ilana and Mohammed were required to attend several counseling sessions. Mohammed, however, refused to participate and asked John Mark, a mutual friend, to attend in his place. When John declined, the sessions were skipped entirely. Despite Mohammed's indifference and lack of effort, the couple proceeded with a small wedding ceremony at St. Francis of Assisi Church in Windsor. Unlike their first wedding, this one was modest, with fewer guests. To hide the lingering henna tattoos on her hands, Ilana wore elbow-length white gloves. After the ceremony, the couple rode in a limousine to the Caesars Hotel and Casino, where they spent part of their honeymoon. Shortly after, they purchased a home in Ottawa and moved there. Ilana began working as a family doctor at the Ottawa Hospital, while Mohammed continued his residency in neurosurgery. In January 2005, after a challenging pregnancy, Ilana gave birth to a baby girl. She was overjoyed by the arrival of her daughter, but Mohammed appeared detached and uninvolved. His focus remained on his career, often retreating to the upstairs study as soon as he returned home, barely interacting with his wife or child. Tensions grew when Mohammed's family visited shortly after the baby's birth. Alana, upstairs breastfeeding, didn't come down to greet them, which enraged Mohammed. Later, he berated her, claiming it was her duty to welcome guests at the door as a sign of respect. Feeling increasingly isolated, Alana confided in her parents, saying she felt as if she were walking on eggshells in her own home. Over time, Mohammed's controlling behavior escalated, and he began having unprovoked fits of anger. While Ilana rarely spoke about her struggles, friends and family noticed her growing unhappiness. Mohammed also criticized her appearance, ridiculing her weight gain and belittling her cooking. A month after the baby's birth, tensions reached a breaking point when Mohammed, in a panic, called Ilana's parents, claiming she wanted a divorce. Ilana quickly took the phone from him, assured her parents that everything was fine, and ended the call. Not long after, while her parents were preparing to attend church one Sunday, they received a missed call from Elena's home. Using their phone's redial feature, they called back, only to overhear a heated argument. Mohammed's furious insults toward Ilana echoed through the line, leaving her parents horrified. In the spring of 2005, Mohammed was accepted into a prestigious PhD program in biomedical engineering at Duke University in North Carolina. Seeing this as an opportunity, Ilana enrolled in Duke's master's program in public policy, and the couple planned to move to the United States that fall. However, just days before the move, an argument turned violent, and Mohammed physically assaulted Ilana. Terrified, she took her daughter and sought refuge at a friend's apartment. Mohammed, unaware of her location, began calling mutual friends until he eventually found her. After 3 days, he promised to stay with his parents if she returned home. Still afraid, Elena agreed, but asked John Mark to stay nearby for protection until her own parents could arrive. Following the incident, Mohammed faced 3 criminal charges, 1 for assaulting Ilana and 2 for issuing threats. These charges jeopardized both his career and his ability to cross the U.S. border to begin his studies at Duke. To salvage his future, Mohammed worked to reconcile with Ilana. A few weeks later, the family baptized their daughter in a church in Windsor. When guests at the reception asked why Mohammed wasn't there, Ilana told some he was working, but privately admitted to her cousin Rob that they'd had another fight. Rob urged her to leave Mohammed, assuring her she could find someone who truly loved her. Ilana, however, insisted they would work things out. On July 27, 2005, the authorities agreed to drop the charges against Mohammed if he signed a peace bond. As part of the agreement, he had to acknowledge that Ilana had reasonable grounds to fear him and accept a 12-month probation. With the charges dismissed just in time, Mohammed was able to begin his PhD at Duke and cross the border without issue. He moved to Durham, North Carolina, to start his program, and Ilana and their daughter joined him a few months later. Friends and family couldn't understand why Ilana returned to Mohammed. She was intelligent, financially independent, and had the unwavering support of her family. While some speculated that she was drawn to the status her relationship with Mohammed provided, others believed she truly loved him and held on to hope that their relationship could improve. In Durham, the couple settled into a routine. They began running marathons together, often waking up before dawn to train. Afterward, Ilana would drop their daughter off at daycare before heading to Duke University with Mohammed. Mohammed excelled in his program, completing his 5-year PhD in just 3.5 years. Despite his professional success, the cracks in their marriage remained, hinting at deeper challenges that could not be resolved by a change in location. Ilana excelled during her studies at Duke University, earning a rare scholarship that covered most of her tuition and being recognized as the best in her class. After her classes, she would pick up Mohammed and their baby before heading home to prepare dinner, a routine she repeated almost daily. In 2007, nearly 2 years later, Ilana became pregnant again and gave birth to the couple's second daughter in November. Friends of the couple noticed an imbalance in their marriage. Ilana was the one who drove Mohammed everywhere he needed to go. When her friend Valentina Nikolova asked her about it, Ilana simply explained that Mohammed disliked driving. But the imbalance extended beyond transportation. Ilana was responsible for nearly everything in their household, from grocery shopping to assembling furniture and even changing light bulbs. Despite her efforts, Ilana often downplayed her own importance, frequently telling friends how brilliant Mohammed was and how insignificant she felt in comparison. To outsiders, Ilana appeared to hold control in the relationship, yet she always sought Mohammed's permission for even the smallest decisions, displaying an unusual submissiveness. Meanwhile, Mohammed would call her multiple times whenever she was out, demanding to know where she was and who she was with. In 2009, after completing their studies at Duke, the couple returned to Ottawa, Canada, and moved into a house near the hospital where they both began working. Ilana quickly became a beloved family doctor, admired by her patients, while Mohammed advanced in his neurosurgery specialization, earning an award for the exceptional care he provided. Around this time, the couple became active on social media, portraying themselves as a wealthy, happy family with beautiful children. However, close friends knew that Mohammed controlled Ilana's accounts, dictating which photos she could post and even pressuring her to harass people he didn't like. Mohammed's controlling nature extended beyond social media and into their daily lives. He denied Ilana permission to subscribe to her favorite newspaper and restricted who their daughters could play with, dismissing children from less affluent families. He often insulted Ilana, calling her useless and stupid, and claimed he would have been better off without her. In 2011, Mohammed moved to Calgary for a year to complete a spinal surgery fellowship. Shortly after, Elena discovered he was having an affair. She found emails confirming the relationship and noticed a credit card charge for a hotel stay with his mistress on Mother's Day. When confronted, Mohammed didn't deny the infidelity. Devastated, Ilana considered leaving him, encouraged by friends who believed she deserved better. Yet, she stayed. Ilana yearned for his approval, believed she had invested too much in their life together, and hoped to prove she was worthy of his love. Mohammed promised to end the affair, and shortly after, he secured his dream job as a neurosurgeon at Toronto Western Hospital. The couple relocated to Toronto, purchasing a $1.5 million home in North York. Elena left her job in Ottawa and eventually found a position at the Earl Bales Clinic. However, she admitted to friends that the new job didn't excite her. She had worked hard to gain knowledge and felt her skills were underutilized. Once settled, Mohammed suggested having another child, noting they had an empty room in their home and expressing his desire for a son. Ilana agreed, hoping a new baby would breathe life into their strained marriage. In October 2013, the couple welcomed a baby boy. For nearly 2 years after his birth, their relationship seemed to stabilize. During this time, Ilana grew close to her new boss, Allison Kaufman, who lived across the street from their home. Their daughters thrived in private school, and Mohammed gained a reputation at Toronto Western Hospital for performing miraculous surgeries. In 2015, Ilana left her clinic job to work at Scarborough Hospital's Family Medicine Unit and became a district delegate for the Ontario Medical Association. Though her career was flourishing, Mohammed resented her success, reigniting tensions in their marriage. In March 2016, the family traveled to Vermont, stopping in Ottawa first to leave their youngest son with Mohammed's parents. That evening, Mohammed called Elena's parents, claiming she had severely cut her right palm and was undergoing surgery. Elana later provided conflicting explanations for her injury, including hitting a glass on the counter, cutting vegetables, and breaking a dish while washing. None of her stories seemed plausible, and it was clear her wound wasn't accidental. In Vermont, tensions escalated further. The couple argued about Mohammed's affair in Calgary, during which he cruelly compared Elana to his former mistress, claiming the other woman was far superior. The argument turned violent when Mohammed attempted to strangle Elana. Later, Ilana confided in friends about the incident but chose not to report it, fearing how U.S. authorities might handle a man named Mohammed. A few months later, the couple celebrated their 12th wedding anniversary, which would ultimately be their last. Ilana gave Mohammed a heartfelt card that read, "My dearest Mohammed, I love you with all my heart. 12 years, 3 kids, 4 cities, 2 countries, and a lifetime of memories. I can't wait for the next 50 years." But the truth was far darker than her words suggested. By late 2016, Ilana had started discussing divorce with Mohammed. Panicked, he begged her to reconsider, and though she agreed to think it over, her suspicions grew that he was involved with another woman. When Ilana confided her suspicions to her friends, one jokingly suggested that she should get a lover herself. Surprisingly, Ilana did just that. She met another doctor who was also married with children. He treated her with kindness and made her feel desired again. Ilana later told a friend it was the first time she'd experienced a shred of happiness since marrying Mohammed. Her lover encouraged her to leave Mohammed and imagine a life without him. Emboldened, Ilana consulted a lawyer to initiate divorce proceedings. She revealed something she hadn't told anyone else, that Mohammed had assaulted her violently in October. It was the final straw for Ilana, who decided she needed to leave, not just for herself, but for the safety of her children. By late November, Ilana officially filed for divorce. Mohammed attempted to win her back by gifting her a large box of chocolates, but she remained resolute. On November 24th, she sent an email to a friend apologizing for her recent absence. "I'm in the process of separating from my husband, and things at home are chaotic. I'll try to catch up with you this weekend. I'll be away at a conference." Ilana attended the conference that Friday, where she spoke on panels, networked, and socialized. Mohammed messaged her throughout the weekend, feigning the role of a supportive husband. Upon returning home Sunday night, Ilana told her close friends that she had served Mohammed with divorce papers. Her lawyer had contacted him on Monday, emphasizing Ilana's desire for an amicable and swift resolution and requesting full financial disclosure. Ilana moved into the basement of their home, but Mohammed repeatedly moved her belongings back into the master bedroom. On December 1st, 2016, Ilana's family tried unsuccessfully to reach her throughout the day. Worried, they called Mohammed, who hesitantly claimed that Ilana had left the house the night before with a suitcase and her boyfriend. Ilana's mother, knowing her daughter would never abandon her children, contacted Allison Kaufman, Ilana's former boss and neighbor, asking her to check the house. Allison peered into the garage and saw that Ilana's car was still parked there. She informed Ilana's parents, who immediately called the police and set out on an overnight drive from Windsor to Toronto. When officers arrived at the house, Mohammed repeated his story about Ilana leaving with a suitcase. Following protocol, they searched the residence for any signs of her, but found nothing. Later that day, police discovered a woman's body stuffed inside a suitcase near the Humber River. She was barefoot, dressed in pajamas, and had severe head injuries. The autopsy revealed she had been beaten, sustaining blunt force trauma before being strangled. The body was taken to Elena's parents for identification. While Ilana's mother, Anna, couldn't recognize her daughter due to the swelling and damage to her face, her father, Joseph, tearfully confirmed her identity. "This is my daughter." The investigation quickly pointed to Mohammed Shamji as the sole suspect. He was arrested the next day at a cafe, where undercover officers handcuffed him at his table. Police discovered that Ilana had attempted to call 911 on the night of her murder, but only managed to dial 611 before Mohammed stopped her. It was also revealed that he killed her while their 3 children were in the house. Their eldest daughter later recounted hearing her mother's screams from her room. Fearing an intruder, she crept to her parents' bedroom and saw her father lying face down on the bed. When he noticed her, he ordered her back to her room. The crime shocked Canada, garnering widespread media attention. The seemingly perfect marriage of 2 accomplished doctors had ended in unimaginable tragedy. Elena's funeral was held on December 17, 2016, at St. Francis of Assisi Church in Windsor, the same church where she had been baptized and married the man who would eventually take her life. While awaiting Mohammed's trial, Joseph and Anna Frick moved into their daughter's home to care for their grandchildren, ensuring they could remain in their school during such a difficult time. In May 2019, over 2 years after the crime, Mohammed Shamji pleaded guilty as part of a deal with prosecutors, avoiding a full trial. He was sentenced to life in prison, with no chance of parole for 14 years. The case received extensive media coverage, and millions of Canadians followed the sentencing. Ilana's eldest daughter publicly stated that she hated her father for what he had done and doubted she could ever forgive him. Today, Ilana's children live with their maternal grandparents in Windsor. They frequently talk about their mother, but refuse to mention their father's name. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations. Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet morning on February 24th, 2023, until chaos broke out in the Bamfield home. Shouts and screams echoed from the upstairs bedroom, followed by the sound of gunshots. When police arrived, they found a scene that didn't quite make sense: 2 bodies, a knife, and a story that felt off. What really happened that day? How did things spiral so out of control? As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered shocking secrets that turned this into a story of betrayal, conspiracy, and murder. In 2003, at the age of 18, Christine enrolled at Quinnipiac University in Connecticut to pursue a degree in nursing. In 2004, during her first year of college, she met Brendan Robert Banfield, and before long the two started dating. Christine graduated in 2007, and the following year, in 2008, Brendan proposed to her. Their engagement lasted nearly 2 years, culminating in their marriage on June 12, 2010. Christine was a devoted nurse who loved her job, often working grueling 16-hour night shifts. Despite the exhausting schedule, she found fulfillment in her work. On social media, she occasionally shared her fitness journey at a local gym, where Brendan would sometimes join her. Friends of the couple noted how Brendan was always supportive, encouraging Christine in her workouts and complimenting her progress. Christine once posted about how happy she felt when Brendan motivated her, especially after he noticed the positive changes her healthy routine brought to her life. Brendan, on the other hand, was more reserved online, rarely sharing personal details. He worked as a federal agent in the tax department, investigating fraud and tax evasion cases. Together, Christine and Brendan built a life that reflected their shared efforts and deep connection. They enjoyed attending football games, hosting parties, taking vacations, and traveling abroad. They were the picture of a typical American couple, meeting young and dreaming of a bright future together. The couple initially lived in New York before relocating to Herndon, Virginia. Their home, valued at over $1 million, was in one of the city's most desirable neighborhoods. Financially stable, both enjoyed excellent salaries and a comfortable lifestyle. Their jobs sometimes required travel, which meant they were occasionally apart for work. In one social media post, Christine mentioned having to leave their dog at a pet hotel because both she and Brendan were traveling for work simultaneously. In October 2017, Christine, then 32, announced on social media that she was 3 months pregnant. On March 30th, 2018, she gave birth to a baby girl. From then on, Christine's social media posts reflected her joy as a mother, sharing pictures of her family. In 2019, the Banfields decided to join the Culture Care Au Pair program. For those unfamiliar, the program facilitates cultural exchange, allowing au pairs to live with families abroad, care for their children, and study, all while receiving accommodation, meals, and a stipend. In April 2019, Amanda, a young Brazilian woman, joined the family through the au pair program. Over the next 2 years, Amanda developed a close bond with the family. She shared photos of their trips, celebrations, and everyday life, showing a strong relationship with the Banfields. Christine even referred to Amanda as part of the family. Amanda's time with the Banfields ended in 2021, but she extended her stay for 6 months due to global travel restrictions. Encouraged by their positive experience, the Banfields sought another au pair, specifically someone Brazilian. They met Juliana Perez Magalhães, a 23-year-old nurse from São Paulo, Brazil. Juliana arrived in late 2021 after completing the au pair application process. Like Amanda, Juliana developed a good relationship with the family. While not as close as Amanda had been, her connection with the Banfields seemed strong enough for them to extend her stay for another year. However, everything changed on February 24, 2023. At approximately 7:50 a.m., a brief 911 call was made from Juliana's phone but ended abruptly. 13 minutes later, another call came through, during which Juliana reported that a friend was injured. Moments later, Brendan took the phone and told the dispatcher he had found his wife, Christine, with stab wounds in their upstairs bedroom and had shot a man named Ryan. Police arrived within 10 minutes to find Ryan deceased and Christine gravely injured in the upstairs bedroom. Christine was rushed to a nearby hospital after the incident. Fortunately, the couple's 4-year-old daughter, who was in the house at the time, was unharmed. However, Christine succumbed to her injuries and passed away shortly after arriving at the hospital. Brendan was also hospitalized due to a leg injury. Preliminary reports from the police revealed that the deceased man found at the scene was Joseph Ryan, a 38-year-old. According to the initial investigation, Ryan allegedly broke into the Banfield home, attacked Christine with a knife, and was fatally shot by Brendan shortly thereafter. This was all the information made available at the time. After being discharged from the hospital, Brendan refused to speak with the detectives or the media about the events that had unfolded. Juliana, on the other hand, cooperated fully. She provided her account to the police, signing a formal statement. Juliana claimed that on the morning of the incident, she had arrived at the Banfield residence for work and witnessed Joseph Ryan forcefully entering the home. Panicked, she called Brendan, who was not home at the time, and asked for help. Brendan reportedly advised her to stay calm and assured her he would be there within minutes. Juliana stated that she waited outside the house for her safety until Brendan arrived. Once he got there, the two entered the home together and found Christine gravely injured. They also came face to face with Joseph Ryan, who was still inside. According to her account, a physical altercation ensued between Brendan and Ryan, during which Brendan managed to grab a firearm kept in the house and fired multiple shots at Ryan, killing him. Brendan later corroborated Juliana's account, claiming he acted in self-defense. However, one puzzling detail emerged from Juliana's statement. She mentioned arriving at the Banfield home early that morning to start her work. This raised questions, as au pair typically reside in the homes of their host families. It remained unclear where Juliana had been before arriving at the house. For months, the police withheld information about the investigation, opting to keep their findings confidential. Meanwhile, neighbors reported seeing Juliana at the Banfield residence frequently. Though it was uncertain whether she was still living there, she was often seen with the couple's daughter, leading to speculation that she might still be working as her nanny. By August 2023, Juliana posted on social media that she was looking for a nanny position in the area. Given that au pairs are not allowed to seek additional employment while participating in the program, this suggested that Juliana was no longer part of the program at that point. After more than 7 months of investigation, law enforcement pieced together key evidence and forensic data to shed light on the case. According to Juliana's own statements to her family in Brazil, the police concluded that Joseph Ryan had killed Christine due to a disagreement, as the two had allegedly been in a relationship. However, the case took a shocking turn on October 19, 2023, when Juliana was arrested. She was taken by surprise as the police charged her with second-degree murder, alleging that it was she, not Brendan, who had fired the fatal shots at Joseph Ryan. Investigators also concluded that Brendan had not been home at the time of the shooting, contradicting their earlier statements. Juliana was subsequently taken to the Fairfax County Detention Center. Initially, the public rallied behind Juliana, hailing her as a hero who acted in defense of the family that had welcomed her into their home. Many sympathized with Brendan as well, believing he had lied to protect Juliana, knowing her temporary visa status could jeopardize her future in the country. However, police later revealed that there were no signs of forced entry at the Banfield residence, suggesting that Joseph Ryan may have been let in willingly, potentially by Christine herself. Questions also arose about whether Juliana had known Joseph Ryan prior to the incident. These revelations shifted public opinion dramatically. Supporters began to doubt Juliana's version of events as theories circulated online. The most popular theory suggested that Juliana and Brendan had been romantically involved and had orchestrated the incident to eliminate Christine. Speculation grew that a divorce would have forced Brendan to split his assets with Christine, so he and Juliana allegedly staged an attack, using Joseph Ryan as a scapegoat. Another theory proposed that Brendan and Juliana had been traveling together on the day of the incident and returned home to find Christine and Joseph confronting them. In this scenario, Joseph was believed to be a private investigator hired by Christine to confirm her suspicions about an affair. A violent altercation ensued, resulting in Christine and Joseph's deaths. A third theory speculated that Christine and Joseph had been romantically involved, and that Brendan, upon discovering them together, killed them both in a fit of rage. Juliana, loyal to Brendan, allegedly covered for him, and the two began a relationship afterward. During her first court hearing, Juliana testified that on the morning of the incident, Christine had given her and the 4-year-old daughter tickets to the zoo so she could have some alone time. According to Juliana, Christine had planned to meet Joseph Ryan, whom she had met on a dating site. Juliana claims she had forgotten the child's lunch and returned to the house to retrieve it, only to see an unfamiliar car parked in the driveway and a man, later identified as Joseph Ryan, entering the house. Alarmed, Juliana called Brendan, who instructed her to wait outside until he arrived. When Brendan arrived, they both entered the house together. Juliana admitted to making the initial 911 call, but hanging up quickly, unsure of what to say. Juliana took the Bamfield's young daughter to the basement for safety, while Brendan grabbed his firearm and prepared to confront the situation. Moments later, noises from the upstairs bedroom caught their attention. They rushed to the room and found Joseph Ryan standing over Christine, who was lying naked on the bed, while Joseph, still dressed, held a knife. Brendan pointed his gun at Joseph, demanding he drop the weapon, but Joseph threatened to harm Christine if Brendan didn't lower his gun. What happened next was a chaotic and horrifying series of events. Joseph began stabbing Christine as Brendan fired his gun. Most of the shots missed their mark, failing to incapacitate Joseph, who continued attacking Christine. Desperate, Brendan yelled to Juliana to retrieve another firearm stored in a safe in the bathroom. When Juliana returned, instead of handing the gun to Brendan, she fired a fatal shot into Joseph's heart, ending the attack. The two then called 911 to report what had happened. Juliana's defense relied on this account, arguing that she acted purely in self-defense. However, the prosecution painted an entirely different picture during the hearing. They alleged that Brendan and Juliana had been romantically involved for months and that the entire incident had been premeditated. According to the prosecution, Brendan pretended to leave for work that morning but stayed nearby, waiting for a call from Juliana. The prosecution claimed that Joseph Ryan was lured to the Bamfield home under false pretenses, believing he was meeting Christine for a romantic encounter. Allegedly, either Brendan or Juliana had created a fake profile of Christine on a dating site, communicating with Joseph to arrange the meeting. Friends and family of Christine who later saw these conversations described them as odd, claiming the writing style didn't match Christine's. On the day of the crime, Joseph reportedly arrived at the house and was greeted by Juliana, explaining the lack of forced entry. Shortly after, he was ambushed by Brendan, according to the prosecution's theory. They argued that the couple meticulously planned the scene to eliminate Christine, thus allowing Brendan to avoid dividing his assets in a divorce and to live a wealthy life with Juliana. A witness from a shooting range testified that Brendan and Juliana had visited the facility 2 months before the crime. Additionally, Brendan returned alone a month later to purchase a firearm, the same firearm Juliana used to kill Joseph. Investigators also revealed that both Brendan and Juliana replaced their cell phones just 4 days before the incident, which prosecutors saw as further evidence of premeditation. Photos taken of the Bamfield home after Juliana's arrest showed significant changes. The room that had once belonged to Juliana was empty, and her belongings, clothing, makeup, and personal items, had been moved into Brendan's bedroom. All photos of Christine and Brendan with their daughter had been removed and replaced with pictures of Brendan and Juliana, some of which included the child. While Juliana's defense acknowledged the possibility of a relationship between her and Brendan, they insisted it was not serious. They argued that both Brendan and Christine had been unfaithful to each other, casting doubt on the prosecution's narrative of a well-planned conspiracy. Brendan invoked the Fifth Amendment during his testimony, refusing to answer questions that could incriminate him, and provided minimal responses throughout the hearing. The prosecution also brought up Juliana's attempt to obtain a new passport while her original had been confiscated during the investigation. They argued that this suggested an intent to flee the country. Juliana's defense countered, explaining that they had advised her to apply for a new passport as a valid form of identification, emphasizing there was no plan to escape. Despite this, the judge denied Juliana bail, ordering her to remain in custody until her trial. Meanwhile, Brendan was released but remained under investigation. Initially, he claimed responsibility for shooting Joseph Ryan, but after forensic evidence proved Juliana had fired the fatal shot, he altered his account. The Banfield's daughter was placed in the care of relatives as the legal proceedings continued. Months later, on September 16, 2024, police arrested Brendan Banfield, charging him with first-degree murder for the deaths of both Christine and Joseph. Prosecutors allege that Brendan had conspired to kill them at the family's home, using a firearm in the commission of the crime. While the authorities did not disclose specific evidence linking Brendan to the murders, they revealed that he and Juliana had planned a trip to Brazil just days before his arrest. During Brendan's first hearing, it was revealed that his relationship with Juliana began in August 2022, nearly a year after she started working for the family. At the time, Juliana had been in a long-distance relationship with a boyfriend in Brazil. The prosecution presented evidence that, a month before the crime, Brendan and Juliana had traveled together to New York, stayed in a hotel, and attended a show. On the morning of the incident, Brendan claimed he left home at 7:11 a.m. and stopped at a McDonald's for coffee, a routine part of his commute. He said he received a call from Juliana around 7:37 a.m., reporting that an unknown man had entered the house. Brendan said he rushed home, leaving his breakfast unfinished. However, during the hearing, prosecutors played the recording of Juliana's initial 911 call, which lasted only 8 seconds. In the background, Joseph Ryan could be heard groaning in pain before the call abruptly ended. When asked about this, Brendan claimed the dropped call was due to their inability to locate the phone after it fell. He admitted to instructing Juliana to retrieve the second firearm from the bathroom safe as a precaution. However, instead of handing him the gun, Juliana used it to shoot Joseph in the heart. The timeline of events raised significant questions. Authorities noted a 13-minute gap between Juliana's first 911 call and her second. Joseph Ryan was already injured by the time of the first 911 call, raising questions about why it took Brendan and Juliana 13 minutes to make the second call. Authorities believe this time was used to stage the crime scene. According to the prosecutor, Joseph's body was repositioned to make it appear as though he had been actively attacking Christine. Investigators revealed that the knife found at the scene belonged to Joseph Ryan and had been brought by him in a backpack. In conversations with the person he thought was Christine, Joseph had been encouraged to bring the knife due to a shared interest in certain fantasies. The website where Christine and Joseph communicated was geared toward casual encounters with a focus on fetishes involving pain and pleasure. This detail, authorities argued, conveniently supplied Brendan and Juliana with a prop to frame the scene. Paramedics who responded to the incident noted several inconsistencies. Both Christine and Joseph's bodies appeared to have been moved and repositioned. Joseph's arms were crossed and stained with Christine's blood in a way that would not have been possible given the fatal shot he sustained to the chest. Additionally, while paramedics worked to save Christine, Brendan reportedly showed little concern for her condition, asking repeatedly whether Joseph was still alive. Authorities believe this indicated Brendan's fear that Joseph might survive and reveal the truth about what happened. Blood spatter analysis further supported the theory of staging. Reports from forensic investigators, finalized in August 2023, confirmed that both Christine and Joseph had been moved after sustaining their fatal injuries. This evidence, along with text messages and witness statements, began to piece together the chain of events leading up to the crime. Before the incident, Joseph had confided in a friend about his communications with Christine. He mentioned that she claimed her marriage was open and that both she and her husband pursued relationships with others. Based on their online conversations, Joseph shared explicit details, including photos of the items he planned to bring to their encounter: a knife, cuffs, and belts. He also mentioned plans to cut Christine's pajamas with the knife, which matched the discovery of a torn pajama set in the bedroom. However, police found that Joseph had never spoken with Christine over the phone or through video chat. This detail became critical to the case. Authorities suspected that the person behind the profile was either Brendan or Juliana. If Joseph had spoken to Juliana, her distinct Brazilian accent would have raised suspicions, yet none of Joseph's friends mentioned him bringing up such a detail. Investigators speculated that Brendan might have fabricated a backstory to explain any discrepancies, such as claiming Christine had lived in Brazil for a time, accounting for the accent. Joseph's friends, who were interviewed by police, described him as a peaceful individual and expressed disbelief that he could have harmed Christine. They believed he had been manipulated into the situation, which ultimately led to his death. Between Juliana's arrest on October 19, 2023, and Brendan's arrest on September 16, 2024, the two maintained consistent contact. In a recorded conversation, Juliana questioned Brendan, saying, "I hope you're not staying with me just because you're afraid I'll turn on you." Brendan responded by telling her to be quiet. This exchange, among other pieces of evidence, raised further suspicion of their involvement in the crime. By late October 2024, Juliana agreed to a plea deal to avoid a full trial. She pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and agreed to testify against Brendan at his upcoming trial, scheduled for February 2025. The prosecution stated that Juliana's sentencing would depend heavily on her testimony and the outcome of Brendan's case. During her confession, Juliana revealed how Brendan masterminded the entire plan. Their romantic relationship began in August 2022, roughly a year after Juliana started working for the family. By fall 2023, Brendan expressed his desire to get rid of Christine and began orchestrating the crime. Using a fake profile on an adult dating site that catered to fetish-based fantasies, Brendan posed as Christine and initiated contact with Joseph Ryan. Over time, he lured Joseph into arranging a meeting at the Banfield home, instructing him to bring specific items, including a knife. To make the setup more convincing, Brendan asked Juliana to speak to Joseph via a voice call on Telegram, pretending to be Christine. Juliana confessed that she was reluctant to participate but ultimately complied. On the day of the incident, Brendan waited nearby after leaving the house under the pretense of heading to work. He instructed Juliana to handle Joseph's arrival and to play along with the charade. Juliana admitted to feeling trapped and fearful, but said Brendan's control over her left her with little choice. Juliana followed the plan and made the calls as instructed. However, Christine's phone went straight to voicemail because Brendan, before leaving that morning, had turned it off and hidden it in a kitchen drawer. Brendan, waiting at a nearby McDonald's, received Juliana's call and pretended to attempt to call Christine, knowing full well it would also go to voicemail. He then returned to the house, picked up Juliana and the couple's daughter, and entered the home through the basement. They left the child there before heading upstairs to the bedroom Brendan shared with Christine. Brendan carried his service weapon, and Juliana had the firearm Brendan had given her earlier that morning. When they entered the bedroom, they found Joseph holding Christine, who was naked. Brendan shouted, "Police!" before shooting Joseph in the head, causing him to fall away from Christine. Juliana then made the first 911 call, during which Joseph could be heard groaning in pain. Following Brendan's instructions, Juliana ended the call prematurely. Afterward, Brendan grabbed the knife Joseph had brought and stabbed Christine multiple times. Meanwhile, the 911 operator attempted to call back, but Juliana did not answer. Then Juliana noticed Joseph was still moving. She fired the fatal shot into his heart, as later confirmed by the medical examiner. Brendan then staged the crime scene, moving Christine and Joseph's bodies closer together to make it appear as though Joseph had attacked Christine. Once the staging was complete, Brendan instructed Juliana to make a second 911 call, in which she reported that an intruder had broken into the Bamfield home and attacked Christine. When the police and paramedics arrived, Brendan accompanied Christine to the hospital while Juliana went to the police department with the couple's daughter. The events that followed became the subject of widespread public scrutiny. Juliana's confession left little doubt that the crime was a conspiracy orchestrated by her and Brendan to murder Christine and begin a life together. Brendan's trial is set for February 2025, with Juliana's sentencing scheduled to follow shortly thereafter. Joseph Ryan's mother has avoided interviews to respect the investigation, but made a poignant social media post after Brendan's arrest, stating that living without her only son has been unbearably difficult. She added that her hope for justice is the only thing keeping her going. Both Christine's and Brendan's families have expressed deep shock and sorrow over the events. Christine was laid to rest at Queen of All Saints Cemetery in Suffolk County, New York. Meanwhile, the couple's 6-year-old daughter is reportedly under the care of close relatives. As for Joseph Ryan, no information about his funeral has been made public. The families involved remain haunted by the tragedy, while the nation watches closely for justice to be served. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations. Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet night until a single phone call changed everything. On March 25, 2011, Erin Nicole Everett called her mother in a panic. She claimed a masked intruder had broken into their home and attacked her and her girlfriend, Tori Minnick. When Erin's parents rushed home, they found a horrifying scene, blood on the floor and Tori's body covered with a blanket. Erin explained what had happened, but her story didn't seem to add up. Who was this masked intruder? Why was Tori targeted? And was Aaron really telling the truth? What started as a shocking crime soon revealed a tangled story of jealousy, betrayal, and heartbreak that would leave two families forever changed. Aaron Everett was born in 1983 in Jerome, a small and deeply conservative town in Pennsylvania. Her upbringing was rooted in simplicity and tradition, with a life centered around faith, school, and sports. Raised in a devout Christian family, Aaron's mother, Patricia Everett, emphasized the importance of religious devotion, shaping Aaron's values and routines. While her father was present in her life, his name remained undisclosed. From an early age, Aaron's life revolved around church activities, school, and athletics. She participated in the church choir and spent her weekends and summers teaching Bible classes instead of attending parties like many of her peers. Sundays were dedicated to church services, both morning and evening, with additional gatherings on Wednesdays. Aaron also excelled in basketball and softball, showcasing her athletic talents, though her shy personality often kept her from forming close connections with her classmates. During her early teenage years, Aaron found herself drawn more to girls than boys, but the conservative environment of Jerome left little room for her to explore these feelings. She channeled her energy into academics and eventually pursued a career as a nursing assistant, a goal she successfully achieved. By the age of 24, Erin was still living with her parents, her social life limited to religious events and her work at a local retirement home. Friends described her as kind and hopeful, dreaming of marriage and family. She briefly became engaged to a young man from her church, but ended the relationship upon realizing that her true feelings lay elsewhere. When Erin confided in her mother about her attraction to women, Patricia was shocked and struggled to reconcile this revelation with her Christian beliefs. Despite her initial frustration and confusion, Patricia chose to support her daughter, offering unconditional love while grappling with her own understanding of Erin's reality. In 2009, Erin's life took a new turn when she met Tori Elizabeth Minnick, a vibrant 20-year-old nurse who had recently joined the night shift at the retirement home. Tori, born on February 2, 1990, in Johnston, Pennsylvania, was outgoing, confident, and had a magnetic personality that contrasted sharply with Erin's reserved demeanor. Despite their differences, the two shared a passion for nursing and a commitment to their families. At the time, Tori was moving on from an on-again, off-again relationship with her high school sweetheart, Corey Donaldson. Erin, captivated by Tori's charm and beauty, admired her from afar, hesitant to approach due to her shyness. Summoning her courage, Erin eventually sent Tori a text message asking if she would be open to dating a woman. The answer was a firm yes, and with that, she arranged a dinner to deepen their connection. From that evening forward, the two spent more time together, laughing, sharing dreams, and, for the first time, Erin felt she could be her authentic self. Their bond grew stronger, and before long, Erin asked Tori to marry her. Tori said yes, but they decided to live together first before taking the leap. Erin approached her family with the request for Tori to move into their home. Initially, her mother opposed the idea, uncomfortable with her daughter's same-sex relationship. However, after Erin threatened to move out and live independently, her mother reluctantly agreed. Tori moved into the Everett family home but lived primarily in the basement, venturing upstairs only for meals and showers. At first, everything seemed to go well between the couple. But within 9 months, their honeymoon phase abruptly ended. Their relationship began to unravel before they could even make it to the altar. Erin's mother started noticing bruises on Erin's back and cuts on her face, raising concerns. One day, she witnessed something alarming in the basement. Tori had Erin in a chokehold. Both women laughed it off, insisting they were just playing, so Patricia dismissed it, unaware of the deepening issues in their turbulent relationship, which became riddled with arguments and financial struggles. Tori started spending weekends away, visiting friends and family. One of those friends was her ex-boyfriend Cody, who made no secret of his desire to win Tori back. Cody even confronted Erin at her workplace, urging her to leave Tori alone. Tori began leading a double life, spending time with Erin in Jerome while secretly rekindling her relationship with Cody. Erin, meanwhile, threw herself into her job as a nursing assistant, a demanding role that consumed most of her time. On the night of March 25, 2011, while Erin's parents attended a church event, Patricia received a frantic call from her daughter. Erin claimed a masked intruder had broken into the house and attacked her and Tori. Rushing home, Patricia and her husband found a horrifying scene. Their daughter covered in blood next to Tori's lifeless body. Erin kept repeating the same anguished question: why did they take her from me? The parents called emergency services, and when the police arrived, they were met with a gruesome sight. Tori was dead, her body partially covered with a blanket. She had been shot twice in the head and showed signs of severe trauma, including hammer blows. In shock, Erin told her mother and the police that an intruder had entered while she and Tori were sleeping. According to Erin, the masked man, wielding a hammer, shouted that he wasn't after Erin but Tori, declaring, "If I can't have her, no one can." Erin claimed she tried to fight him off, but he shot Tori and bludgeoned her to death before fleeing in a green truck. Erin described the intruder as someone resembling Tori's ex-boyfriend Cody. She even mentioned the truck matched Cody's vehicle. Investigators initially focused on Cody, interrogating him about his connection to Tori. Cody admitted he and Tori were still involved and had even been looking for apartments together. He claimed to know about Erin, but believed Tori's assurance that they were just friends. However, Cody had a solid alibi. Witnesses and his employer confirmed he had been working at a loading dock at the time of the murder. With no evidence linking Cody to the crime, police turned their attention elsewhere. As the investigation deepened, they found no other suspects with a motive to harm Tori. The focus shifted back to Erin, the only person who had been with Tori when she died. Erin was brought back to the station for further questioning. During the interrogation, the 25-year-old woman stuck to her original story about a masked intruder breaking into her home and killing her girlfriend while they slept. However, as detectives dug deeper into her account, inconsistencies began to surface. Erin had claimed to hear 2 gunshots, but the crime scene analysis revealed troubling contradictions. The window she suggested the intruder had used to enter the house had been broken from the inside, casting serious doubt on her version of events. As investigators pressed her, Erin doubled down, attempting to shift suspicion onto Cody, Tori's ex-boyfriend. She claimed their relationship had caused tension, suggesting that Cody's disapproval of her and Tori's romance had driven him to commit the crime. What Erin didn't know was that Cody had already been cleared as a suspect, his alibi corroborated by multiple witnesses. The pressure in the interrogation room mounted. Detectives, armed with mounting evidence, told Erin they knew the truth and urged her to confess. Finally, under the weight of their questioning, Erin broke down and admitted to staging the scene by breaking the window to support her fabricated story. She revealed that jealousy and betrayal had driven her to commit the crime. Erin explained that she had discovered a text message on Tori's phone indicating she planned to leave her for Cody. Overcome with rage, Erin had acted in a fit of jealousy. She recounted how, while Tori slept beside her, she took her father's revolver, shot Tori in the head, and, when she realized Tori was still alive, bludgeoned her with a hammer to ensure her death. Erin's confession hinted at a crime of passion, but there was more to the story. In her statement, she implicated a 27-year-old man named William Nair, who was engaged to one of her cousins. Erin claimed that William had been in contact with her before the murder, sending messages with instructions on how to use the firearm. This suggested he might have been complicit in the crime. When questioned, William admitted to exchanging messages with Erin, but insisted he hadn't taken her threats seriously until the crime was committed. Detectives believed his involvement might have influenced Erin's actions, leading to suspicions of premeditation. To strengthen their case, prosecutors offered William a deal: testify against Erin in exchange for reduced charges. His cooperation provided critical testimony that bolstered the case against her. With William's statements and Erin's confession, the prosecution charged Erin with first-degree murder, among other offenses. The possibility of a severe sentence, including the death penalty, loomed over her. Erin's arrest shocked her family, particularly her mother, Patricia, who struggled to reconcile the daughter she knew with the horrific crime. Patricia described Erin as a kind, religious young woman, incapable of such violence. Before the trial began, Erin's defense team sought to establish that she was suffering from battered partner syndrome, hiring a licensed counselor with prior courtroom experience. However, the court rejected the argument, ruling that the syndrome was inapplicable. Erin had killed Tori while she slept, eliminating any claim of self-defense. The court also deemed the counselor's qualifications insufficient to provide expert testimony. The defense appealed this decision, dragging the process out for 14 months. Ultimately, both the appellate and Supreme Courts upheld the lower court's ruling, concluding there was no evidence of abuse to justify the expert testimony. The trial finally commenced on November 12, 2014. Erin faced multiple charges, including criminal homicide, first and third-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, aggravated assault, and conspiracy. The prosecution focused on the first-degree murder charge, the most severe, carrying the harshest penalty. In the opening statement, the prosecutor outlined Erin's actions in chilling detail. They described how she had retrieved the gun, loaded it, and fired at Tori twice before resorting to a hammer to finish the act. The trial promised to be a lengthy and harrowing journey, one that would determine Erin's fate for years to come. According to the prosecution, Erin later retrieved a hammer from the basement and admitted to striking Tori in the face at least twice. The prosecution sought to prove that her actions were deliberate, voluntary, and premeditated. During the trial, the 28-year-old Erin, dressed in black with a cross hanging around her neck, appeared unsettlingly calm, as though unaffected by the gravity of the situation. In her defense, Erin acknowledged that she and Tori had experienced significant relationship issues. She testified that their relationship had deteriorated since Christmas of 2010, shortly after they began living together in her parents' basement. Erin claimed that Tori had verbally abused her, which she argued contributed to the events of that fateful night. She described frequent arguments about money and their relationship, emphasizing that Tori's rekindled connection with her ex-boyfriend Cody had intensified the tension. Erin alleged that Tori had been violent toward her, claiming she was struck with rolled-up magazines wrapped in duct tape. The climax of her testimony came when she recounted how, overwhelmed by the ongoing abuse, she decided to shoot Tori while she slept. She admitted that after firing the shot with her father's pistol, she used a hammer to strike Tori in the head to ensure she wouldn't survive. After the attack, Erin said she panicked and tried to cover up the truth. She dragged Tori's body out of bed and broke the glass in the front door, staging the scene to make it appear as though an intruder had entered and committed the crime. This fabricated narrative was an apparent attempt to divert suspicion away from herself. However, her story was riddled with contradictions and inconsistencies that weakened her defense and bolstered the prosecution's argument of premeditation. As the trial progressed, the court delved deeper into the turbulent dynamics of Erin and Tori's relationship and the tragic choice Erin made that night. Her defense team argued that the crime stemmed from the emotional and physical abuse Erin had allegedly endured, claiming it had affected her mental state. The attorney painted the incident as a devastating tragedy, asserting that Erin's actions were driven by emotional distress rather than premeditation. They emphasized that a crime of passion did not align with Erin's typically reserved and gentle demeanor. The prosecution, however, worked to dismantle this narrative, calling several witnesses to the stand. Among them was Cody, Tori's ex-boyfriend, who testified that he was unaware of the romantic nature of Erin and Tori's relationship. Cody revealed that he had dated Tori for 3.5 years and had even lived with her family for a year, during which he was treated as part of the household. He admitted that he and Tori had argued frequently, leading to her father asking him to leave. Despite this, they later reconciled, and on the day of the crime, he and Tori were scheduled to view an apartment where they planned to move in together. Tori's father also took the stand, echoing Cody's testimony. He stated that he was unaware of Erin and Tori's romantic relationship and was shocked to learn about Erin's arrest. He described Erin as quiet and reserved, while Tori was outgoing and lively. He recalled seeing Tori just days before her death, noting she seemed happy and excited about pursuing a career in nursing. The prosecution also called William, who faced conspiracy charges related to the case. He testified that Erin had contacted him the day before the crime, asking for instructions on how to load and use a firearm. Erin had confided in William that she felt compelled to shoot Tori to prevent her from returning to Cody. William claimed he never believed Erin would follow through on her plan. Erin claimed the prosecutor had assured her that if she told the truth, she would face no more than 45 days in jail and that the charges against her would eventually be dismissed. Before sentencing, Tori's father addressed the court, expressing how his daughter's life had been senselessly cut short and how his family had been shattered by the events of that fateful day. While the family supported the plea agreement, even though it was for a lesser charge than first-degree murder, Tori's father made it clear that he had fought relentlessly to honor her memory. Erin's defense attorney argued for a third-degree murder conviction, hoping to avoid a life sentence. However, the judge countered that true mercy should have been extended to Tori during her final moments, and the opportunity for leniency had long passed. On November 14, 2014, Erin Everett, 28, was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In delivering the sentence, the judge cited text messages sent to and from Erin's phone, as well as the calculated steps she had taken to end Tori's life. These details painted a picture of malicious intent. The judge acknowledged that love, jealousy, and tension could cloud judgment, but emphasized that these emotions could never justify such a crime. Upon hearing the verdict, the Minnick family embraced each other through tears, expressing both their grief and a sense of relief. While the decision aligned with their hopes, Tori's father admitted it brought neither peace nor the happiness they had lost since the violent death of his daughter. The district attorney, speaking on behalf of the Minnick family, expressed satisfaction with the outcome, stating they believe justice had been served. Aaron's defense attorney, though disappointed, was not surprised by the verdict. With resolve, he declared this trial would not be the last, promising to revisit the case in the future. Over the years, Aaron's legal team pursued multiple appeals, but each one was denied, with the final rejection coming in 2019. Meanwhile, William, who had played a pivotal role by instructing Aaron on how to use the firearm, was sentenced to just over 40 days in jail for conspiracy to commit homicide. Many considered this punishment lenient, given his involvement in the events leading up to Tori's murder. Aaron and Tori's story highlights the complexities of love, control, and possessiveness. Despite Aaron's claims of abuse at Tori's hands, the ultimate outcome was the loss of a precious life. Aaron's testimony revealed the emotional turmoil and jealousy that consumed her, distorting her perception and driving her to an unthinkable act. While it is possible to empathize with Aaron's anguish, it is equally painful to reflect on how violence is never the solution. What drives someone to commit such a desperate act? That question lingers in the minds of those who knew the young women, who once had the potential for a much different story. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations. Every day, we see the darker side of the world around us. We witness how people can hurt others in ways that are hard to understand. It's a sad part of life, but it's something we can't ignore. As someone who dives into the world of crime, I'm here to share the most shocking stories and try to understand what drives people to do such things. I'm Michael, and today, I've got another unreal true crime story for you. It was a quiet night in June 2021 at a home in Hampton, Virginia, when something terrible happened. A father, home alone with his kids, made a decision that would change everything. One of his children, 4-year-old Cody Bigsby, would never be seen again. What happened that night has left people heartbroken and searching for answers. This is Cody's story, a story full of mystery, shocking discoveries, and a community still trying to make sense of it all. What really happened to Cody? And why did he never come back? On January 12, 2018, a little boy named Cody Bigsby was born to parents Dina Abdul Karim and Corey Bigsby in Hampton, Virginia. Cody had a bright personality and a warm smile that revealed his deep dimples. With his curly black hair and brown eyes, he loved Spider-Man and brought joy to those around him. His arrival made him the second of what would eventually become 4 children in the Bigsby family, including a set of twin boys born after him. Cody's parents separated in 2019, and by 2020, Dina faced serious health challenges. This led to an agreement where Corey would take custody of their children. However, Dina claimed Corey hesitated to take Cody, calling him a mama's boy. Despite this, Dina handed over the children to Corey on November 1st, 2020, during a meeting halfway between Hampton and Washington, D.C., where she had relocated. Dina alleged that Corey refused to share his address, preventing her from visiting her children afterward. On January 31st, 2022, Corey reported 4-year-old Cody missing. He told police that he last saw Cody around 2 a.m. after putting him to bed. When he woke up, Cody was gone. Officers arrived at Corey's residence at the Buckrow Point townhomes and began investigating. Cody was described as being about 3 feet tall and last seen wearing a black bomber jacket, black sweatpants, and Spider-Man flip-flops. Authorities quickly issued a public alert, and the FBI joined the search effort alongside 50 volunteers. Police focused their search on areas near Corey's residence, including waterways and the nearby Hampton NASA steam plant. Questions circulated online as police sought tips from anyone familiar with Cody's family or living in the area. During a press conference, Hampton Police Chief Mark Talbot confirmed Cody's parents were persons of interest, stating that inconsistencies existed in Corey's account of the events. Despite this, no evidence suggested Cody had been abducted, which would have triggered an Amber Alert. Chief Talbot expressed hope, saying they would continue to search as though Cody was waiting to be found. Meanwhile, Corey's sister defended him, insisting he was a loving father who would never harm his children. She firmly stated, "I know my brother, and I know it's not true." As the investigation progressed, troubling details emerged. On February 3rd, Corey was arrested on 7 counts of child neglect, stemming from incidents before Cody's disappearance. According to reports, Corey admitted to leaving his children alone on multiple occasions, including a December 2021 instance when he went to Norfolk to purchase a vehicle. On another occasion, just days before Cody's disappearance, Corey left his children unattended while running errands. Corey's attorney, Jeff Ambrose, emphasized that the neglect charges were unrelated to Cody's disappearance. He also criticized how Corey's requests for legal representation were handled, a claim Chief Talbot disputed, highlighting Corey's military background and his capability to understand his rights. Nearly a week after Cody Bigsby vanished, on February 5, 2022, volunteers gathered once again to aid in the search. A bitterly cold Saturday morning saw community members scouring a wooded area near Cody's home. They trudged through thorny underbrush and muddy terrain, some equipped with machetes to clear the dense foliage. Others operated drones, while a few focused their efforts on nearby water bodies and an abandoned storage unit. The search was set to resume the following morning, ahead of a candlelit vigil planned for that Sunday evening. Despite their determination, no significant clues emerged. At the vigil, dozens of people gathered on the soccer fields near Cody's residence. They held candles, released balloons, sang, and prayed for the little boy's safe return. On February 8th, Corey Bigsby was denied bond, a decision his attorney vowed to appeal. Just days later, on February 12th, a blue jacket thought to belong to Cody was found in a field behind his apartment complex. Police and forensic units responded quickly, also noting tire tracks near the discovery site. Despite this, hope for Cody's return began to dwindle. The community, however, continued to express their love and concern for him. A Valentine's Day display appeared along a fence at a local soccer field, featuring balloons, flowers, and cards. Residents left heartfelt messages in a sparkling Valentine's box, hoping Cody might one day see their love for him. A Facebook group dedicated to Cody's case gained tens of thousands of members from across the globe, all eager for updates. Amidst the outpouring of support, Cody's mother, Dina, issued a heartfelt statement expressing gratitude for the community's efforts while explaining her reluctance to speak publicly due to ongoing legal proceedings. "I am praying for the safe return of my baby boy Cody," she wrote, urging respect for her privacy during such a tragic time. Efforts to locate Cody continued with a nonprofit search and rescue team, focusing on areas where Corey had previously lived in Norfolk, Virginia. Acting on tips from neighbors, the team combed through the location, but once again found no new leads. As February wore on, Hampton Police Chief Mark Talbot admitted to significant missteps in the initial investigation. He revealed that detectives interviewing Corey had failed to honor his request for legal counsel. Corey, who voluntarily came to the station after reporting his son missing, underwent a polygraph test late into the night. Around 4 a.m., tensions boiled over, leading to a heated exchange with a detective. During this interaction, Corey twice asked for a lawyer, but his request was ignored, and the interview continued for another 2 days. In light of these revelations, Chief Talbot launched a comprehensive audit of over 100 hours of recorded interactions between police and Corey. He acknowledged the mishandling of Corey's request for an attorney, but maintained that statements made prior to the request remained valid. The lead detective in the case was placed on administrative leave, though the charges against Corey were unaffected. By July, Corey faced 30 charges, including 15 counts of child neglect and multiple counts tied to allegations of abuse. Court documents outlined incidents where Corey had left his young children alone on several occasions, sometimes for hours, without adequate care or supervision. These charges carried a maximum potential sentence of 162 years in prison, though none were directly connected to Cody's disappearance. As the case against Corey unfolded, his extended family publicly defended him and criticized the police. They announced a $25,000 reward for information on Cody's whereabouts while alleging misconduct by law enforcement. In January 2023, a year after Cody went missing, his case remained unresolved. The memorial near his home, adorned with stuffed animals and handwritten signs, stood as a somber reminder of the community's enduring hope. Reflecting on the case, Chief Talbot shared that it had deeply affected him, saying, "We became intimately familiar with how Cody lived his life." Through the course of their investigation, authorities uncovered a heartbreaking picture of the challenges and neglect Cody Bigsby endured during his short life. Hampton Police Chief Mark Talbot reflected on the process, stating, "We've become intimately familiar with the trauma he experienced while he was living, the kind of deprivation he endured. It's deeply traumatic." While the community remained hopeful, Talbot acknowledged a grim reality, explaining, "Each day it becomes harder to believe Cody is alive. If he were, we'd see traces, photos, phone calls, something. Yet, there's no evidence of him being cared for or alive." Despite the growing uncertainty, the investigation pressed on. Volunteers continued their search with the same vigor as they had a year prior. Chief Talbot noted that their work included following a statement Corey made while incarcerated, leading investigators to search an area in Maryland near Washington. Investigators discovered that Cody and his 3 siblings rarely left their home, didn't attend school, and were without babysitters. The last confirmed interaction anyone had with Cody outside of his father was in late 2020 when an aunt spoke with him by phone during the holidays. In March 2023, Corey was transferred to Eastern State Hospital for mental health treatment after a court-ordered psychiatric evaluation yielded mixed opinions about his competency to stand trial. Corey's family attributed his mental decline to the stress of his incarceration and the conditions he faced in jail. They maintained their belief that Cody was alive and had been trafficked, with Corey's sister stating, "I believe in my heart Cody is alive. I think he's been trafficked. and one day he'll be returned to us. In June 2023, a grand jury indicted Corey Bigsby on charges of homicide and concealment of a body. The indictment alleged that Cody had died around June 18, 2021, 7 months before he was reported missing. Investigators did not immediately disclose the evidence supporting this timeline, which Corey's sister disputed, claiming she had last seen Cody alive in the fall of 2021 at a family gathering. Surprisingly, Corey was granted bond on June 21, 2023. His defense argued that, without a body or concrete evidence of homicide, Corey was entitled to bond. The court imposed strict conditions, including house arrest with his adult daughter in Norfolk and a ban on contact with his younger children. Later in November 2023, a hearing was held to determine the admissibility of critical evidence. Confessional letters Corey allegedly wrote while in prison. In one letter, written with the assistance of a corrections officer, Corey described finding his son unresponsive, unsuccessfully performing CPR, and ultimately placing Cody's body in a trash bag and leaving it in his car for 3 days. He claimed to have later driven the body to a location in Maryland. A second letter, written by Corey himself after the first, provided a similar account, describing an accident where Cody supposedly fell down the stairs. Both letters expressed Corey's panic, prayers, and ultimate decision to dispose of Cody's body. On January 21, 2022, Corey Bigsby allegedly confessed to taking Cody to Garrett Morgan Boulevard in Maryland, where he initially placed the boy in a trash receptacle. Realizing his actions, Corey said he removed Cody and buried him beside a tree, securing his ankles and wrists with tape and laying a cowboy rug beneath him. He claimed to have placed Beats headphones in Cody's ears and left some trash and a bike at the scene before eating nearby. These chilling details were revealed in court during his trial. In December 2022, Corey reportedly handed a corrections officer a note on Christmas Day, confessing that he buried Cody after finding him unresponsive. Another confession, written in a notebook found in Corey's cell, detailed a separate account where he allegedly struck Cody on June 18, 2021, before putting him in a bathtub, then a refrigerator, and eventually burying him. Corey's defense argued these statements were coerced due to the conditions he endured in jail and during police interrogations. However, the court ruled these confessions admissible for his trial, which began in March 2024. In February 2024, the community faced another heartbreak when a notice was placed on Cody's memorial fence indicating it would be taken down. While some requested it remain longer, officials stated it would be removed following the 2-year anniversary of Cody's disappearance, as someone had been charged in his death. During the trial, Cody's mother took the stand. She recounted the last time she saw Cody in November 2020 when she handed him and his siblings over to Corey at a 7-Eleven halfway between Hampton and Washington, D.C. Dina testified that Corey never allowed her consistent communication with her children, ignoring her calls, emails, and messages. She described how Corey once emailed her in early 2021, accusing Cody of troubling behavior and stating, "He needs to come back to you because I don't want to severely hurt him." Dina was shown a photo of Cody taken in June 2021, just days before he was allegedly killed. Through tears, she said he looked unrecognizable, sad and frightened compared to the laughing, loving child she remembered. She also testified about an email she sent to Corey in January 2022, desperately asking, "Where are my kids, Corey? Are they alive?" Cody's older brother, now 7, provided a remote testimony wearing a light blue bow tie and suspenders. He recounted finding Cody unresponsive on a bed, with his face red, dry and bruised. When he asked his father about Cody, Corey reportedly dismissed his concerns. Through tears, the boy said, "I was thinking he was dead." His testimony placed Cody's death months before Corey reported him missing in January 2022. Forensic evidence from Corey's phone further corroborated this timeline, with photos of Corey and his other children at Busch Gardens in July 2021, weeks after Cody's alleged death. The most damning evidence came from Corey's written confessions. Corrections officers testified about the first note he dictated, detailing a burial site in Maryland that prompted an extensive search involving cadaver dogs and FBI agents. No remains were found. On Christmas Day 2022, Corey handed another handwritten note to an officer, stating he attempted CPR on Cody before his death. On June 18, 2024, 3 years after Cody Bigsby's death, Corey Bigsby was sentenced to 45 years in prison for the second-degree homicide of his son and the concealment of a body. The maximum sentence allowed under Virginia law for these charges included 40 years for the homicide and 5 years for hiding Cody's remains. Corey still faces potential sentencing for the child neglect charges, which could total an additional 162 years. Despite the conviction, Corey continued to claim his innocence. In a post-trial interview from the Western Tidewater Regional Jail, Corey alleged that his confessions were fabricated under pressure and that he was denied fair treatment during both his incarceration and trial. "If I confessed to something, they should have found my son, but they didn't. I don't know where Cody is," he maintained. While Cody's body has yet to be found, the case has left a significant legacy. In January 2024, 2 years after Cody was reported missing, Virginia lawmakers introduced the Cody Alert. This new system aims to address gaps in missing child cases that don't meet the strict criteria for an Amber Alert. The Cody Alert allows law enforcement to issue alerts in any missing child case, whether or not abduction is suspected. The alert includes targeted notifications within a 10-mile radius and can be expanded as needed. The legislation, signed into law in May 2024, went into effect months ahead of schedule, with the first Cody Alerts issued in September 2024. Within the first month, 3 missing children in Virginia were safely recovered thanks to the new system. As Corey awaits additional trials for child neglect, Cody's memory lives on in the hearts of those who loved him and in the new alert system bearing his name. Though his body remains missing, Cody's legacy serves as a reminder of the importance of protecting vulnerable children and ensuring their voices are heard, even when they cannot speak for themselves. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.